One of us, we accept him, he's one of us. 1939 Freaks.
Okay, wow, that goes way back. I've never seen that clip before. If you would have referenced it, I would have said, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Everybody has heard like the one of us thing, and it's been parodied thousands of times, but that's where it all kind of started.
Back in 1939.
Yeah, so if you were to join a freak show, what's your special freak show gift? Like, you know, we saw like the bearded woman and those types of things.
Well,
what do you do to get in?
Well, everybody I think already knows this, but I have my uvula like splits in two, and I think that makes me pretty much a freak.
Okay, so you're talking about. So,
yeah,
I mean, we're not going to get the camera in there.
No, let's not do that. But yeah, and I actually thought that was normal.
Okay,
I didn't realize. I assumed everybody's. You know,
unlike the cartoons though, like Jerry's getting swallowed by Tom the cat, and he like punches like the uvula, and it's just one. And as you're watching cartoons as a kid, you didn't think mine doesn't look like that.
Well, I think because when they do hit him, it hits so fast it goes back and forth, almost looks like there's two, and so I thought, yeah, it's a wishbone.
Okay, all right, I can touch my nose with my tongue.
Okay.
I'm not going to do it.
No, you can't say that.
All right. I did it. Okay. On camera. It's there forevermore. Okay. So what are we talking? Wait. Well, first off, what are we doing right now?
Oh, we're doing a podcast, and the podcast is going to take the place of what would normally happen on Wednesday, November 24th, which is not going to happen, which is we're not going to meet here for normal worship time and Devo that we would have. And so instead, as we've done for probably at least, 5 years now?
I think it's more than that.
Maybe more than that. We've had a podcast. Now, before we used to do audio.
Yeah.
But now we have a video podcast. And so for those of you who are listening, you can either be going down the road listening to it, or maybe you're sitting at home and you're getting the beauty of all of this.
And there's going to be a visual component to it, but you can probably fill in the gaps.
Yes.
All right. So what are we talking about?
We are talking about subcultures.
Subculture. So that's why we played the video there.
Yes.
Yeah. Subcultures. What's a subculture?
Okay, a subculture is like a smaller portion of a culture.
There it is.
There you have it. It's a subculture.
It's in contrast to some of the values and the practices of the dominant culture. So is there a subculture that you would say that you're a part of, and you can't say Christianity or the church or anything like that?
Well, now that's going to, I guess I'm a subculture of a parent would be some sort of, oh, come on.
It's not a subculture.
I don't, well.
Do you write a daddy blog or something? Then no, you're not part of the subculture.
I do. No, let's see. That's a good question, because when you rule out like church and Christianity, I'm not involved really in a whole lot of other things.
Doug, that's why I'm here.
Okay. Oh no.
Today we are going to find Doug a subculture. This is what we're doing. So the rules of the game is that you can only hold on to one culture at a time.
Okay.
So
I can only hold on to one
culture. Once you let
culture.
go of one, we're not going back to it.
Okay.
So this one's for practice.
Okay, so I'm just going to look straight ahead so I don't accidentally look over at something I'm not supposed to look at.
It's fine.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you the name.
Okay, give me the name.
Of a subculture. And you tell me what you think it is.
Okay.
And then I'll tell you what it actually is. And then we'll figure out if this is a good fit for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
So the first one is like a sample one.
Okay.
It's really easy.
I was easy.
Deadhead.
A deadhead.
Yeah. The deadhead subculture, which is what?
I'm going to guess it has something to do with like rock music, maybe.
You don't know this one?
I don't.
It literally says example. It's like the easy one.
The deadhead. I would think it'd be like the dummy, but who would have a subculture of that?
The Grateful Dead
I was right there.
Dead.
I was right there. Hey, I just want y'all to know, for the record, I did say like a rock group. Like, so yeah.
A rock band. The Grateful Dead is just a rock band to you. Okay, so the people at home can see this. I don't know if you can or not. So
wow, my legs look great there. Look at they're all tanned and
hold on to that one.
Flip-flops. Okay,
and so
a fan and follower of the rock group, the Grateful Dead.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
So another music one. Well, yeah, it's K-pop. Do you know what K-pop is?
I'm gonna just totally guess. I think it has to do with like a music that has like pop in like Korea. Like K-pop.
Wow. That is stunning.
Okay, yes.
Okay? And so
I didn't know.
So there's you in a K-pop band. Doug has not seen these yet.
Is that the only?
That's you. So I knew nothing about K-pop music. And
but apparently,
there's a YouTube link there that is like the 100 best K-pop songs now. They're all horrible. It's like 90s boy band, like hair and like dancing, but the pop music is somehow even worse.
Okay, so are they covers from like, and are they in English?
Most of them were. I just scanned through, like it's so bad.
Okay.
But like people love this stuff. So right now in theory, you got to choose between being a Deadhead or K-pop.
Well,
which one can you see yourself doing?
Bob is going to kill me, but I'm going for the K-pop.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, look how these guys are well dressed. I just want you to know.
Yeah.
I feel more comfortable not in just a tie-dye T-shirt and flip-flops.
Okay, so what about a
greaser is going to be like, I'm going to assume that's back from the 50s. They would slick their hair back like the greaser. I'm definitely this crowd. Look at
Greaser.
Man.
That's from Outsiders.
Sweet.
Their contrast with the Sochis.
Yep. There we go.
Oklahoma book there. SE Hittin' is from Tulsa.
Yeah.
It's an iconic movie. Okay. So you're sticking with the Greaser subgroup.
Yes.
So you're going to preach in a leather jacket and hair slicked back if this is the card you're holding on to at the end of the game.
Yeah. Me and that's Kiefer, right?
That's Emilio
Estevez. I should have known that. Yeah.
Patrick Swayze's there. Patrick Swayze. Yeah. Okay.
That's all I know.
You ready for this one?
Okay.
This could be my favorite. Normcore. What do you think it is? That's half the game.
And this is the half that I'm going to fail at. Normcore. They really like the TV show Cheers. And Norm!
That's not a bad guess. It's actually 20-something punks that live in like cool places who they think it's hilarious to dress like us.
Yeah.
Like dead serious.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what it is. They're like,
that's
hilarious. I'm wearing New Balance shoes. Ah ha ha.
Yeah. I'm not wearing Louis Vuitton, that cost me, $1,500 for the belt. Okay.
Yeah. So like
I'm all over this.
Normcore.
Why the only picture that you could use is the one of me in a sombrero, and I have this weird look on my face.
Yeah, I chose it well. Okay, so you're holding on to Normcore. Yes. You're getting rid of the Greasers.
Yes.
Okay.
I like the Normcore. That's good.
Okay. All right. Cubing.
Okay.
What is cubing?
Okay, man, that could be a lot of things. Maybe you like to stack things. Maybe that makes you a prepper. Maybe you like Cuba Gooding Jr. Maybe you like Cuba. Okay, but I am going to go with. I have no idea. I'm going to go with the first one, like prepping, like they're stacking things.
No, it's people who speed cube.
As soon as you said no, I thought, oh yeah, it has to be the Rubik's Cube. I should know this. White used to mess around with it.
Did.
He could solve it.
Yeah.
I could, as long as I got a hammer and broke it apart and stuck it back together again.
Okay, so you want to hold on to the Normcore?
I'm saying.
Okay, I feel like this is a bit of a crutch because you don't have to change anything if you join the Normcore group besides laugh at yourself as you dress in regular middle class clothes.
People normally laugh at me at what I wear, so although I don't have any shirts that have cactuses on them.
Now, you're going to know this one, okay? But maybe not everybody at home does.
Okay.
Cosplay,
that's like when you dress up like a kind of like a sci-fi or even like a animated.
Like fantasy.
Yes, like
Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
Stuff like that. Okay, so they hang out at parks. They have sword fights.
Yeah, they do.
I have been known. I had a former youth group kid that was participating in a cosplay sword fight, and so I went and cheered for him.
Okay.
So
Did he
I
win?
actually have skin in the. I don't think he did.
Oh, he got nerfed in the head.
He got nerfed, but anyway, there's you. I think you look pretty good in that. He's actually thinking of letting go of the Norm Corps to join the cosplay.
I want to wait one more because I'm just not ready. Because I mean, it just makes me nervous. That's Pocahontas, I assume.
I have no idea.
Yeah, and Belle. So that would make me the Beast. Why not?
Okay.
Why not? Why
He's
not?
joining the cosplay.
Yeah.
People at Hobbs are going to find out about this. They're going to be calling you.
I'm just hoping there's another. You keep saying I can't hang on.
Okay, what is the hustle culture?
Okay, I mean I like. What is the hustle? I have no clue. I mean, I'm just trying to think.
Okay.
Should I know this? I mean, can you throw me a bone? Give me a hint.
There's like a whole
Are they like
genre. Yeah. There's like a whole genre of self-help, business-minded, entrepreneurial books and podcasts.
Okay.
Tim Ferriss, Gary Vaynerchuk. There's a whole industry about there's sayings like, I would rather work around the clock for myself than be a slave from 9 to 5. And, well, here, this says, I've got a dream that's worth more than my sleep. And so it's like the hashtag firing my boss, work, grind. I've got a podcast. I've got an MLM, possibly like kind of that culture.
MLM.
Multi-level marketing. It's like they have side hustles
so
and they're grinders. And
as much as I want to get rid of the cosplay one, I'm a preacher, and everybody knows that we only work like 1 to 2 hours a week, and so I don't think it'd be fair for me to be like, oh yeah, I'm in the hustle culture. The hustle culture.
So like you don't want to gig as like an Uber driver to make extra money. Okay.
No.
All right. Now, you could meet people that way and evangelize them.
Yeah.
Hashtag just saying. Okay. What about the fire culture?
Definitely going with the fire culture, only because I love fire. I mean, George Strait sings about it. He's a fireman. That's his name.
That's capital F, capital I, capital R, capital E.
Free, indeed, redeemed,
financial
evermore.
Independence, retire early. And so these are not people that like, I want to retire at 57. These are people like, I want to retire at 35.
I want to retire at 35.
Yeah, too late, buddy.
I would have to go back in time 10 years.
Which means that like we've been paying you way too much if you can time travel and still have enough money to retire.
That's true. But if I can time travel, I've got it figured out.
All right. What about this one? What's a flapper?
I want to think of dolphins.
You really don't know this one?
No, I don't know what a flapper is.
What grade did you get in like history in 10th grade?
Did we have
American history?
Remember, it was so long ago that history has changed since then.
It's the 1920s, like the flapper girls that have the short hair and the dresses.
You know what? I'll go with this because
you have to preach it, whatever you're holding on to.
Oh, I have to preach in it?
Well, I just made that rule, but yeah, now.
I was just thinking I like the 20s because like that's the greatest generation ever, and and they got to at least witness, although they would have been a little bit older to have been a part of World War II.
You're getting near the end. Be careful what you're holding on to.
Okay.
Skeleton clique. What is it? This one's for the kids.
That's like they like Halloween costumes. They're the skeletons.
21 Pilots fan club because of the hoodies that Tyler and Josh wore very early in their
I'll even
career.
preach in that because I love at least one song. I've been stressed out.
Yeah, and we've actually used them on this podcast before.
So
okay.
I feel a little bit like I'm in the Karate Kid if I wear this outfit.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's pretty cool.
Okay, so we're getting near the end. Cryptozoology.
Okay, zoology is animal. Crypto is like I'm gonna think like it's encoded like crypto. So it's there's this underground hidden monkey crew that it's like Planet of the Apes. That's what it is.
No.
Except smarter.
It's people who go looking for Bigfoot and Loch Ness and other monsters because they think that they're real. And when I was trying to get the definition to put here on the slide, I accidentally put in salary. And I can tell you how much they make. It's between $10,000 a year, which that seems high to me, and $200,000 a year, which I'm guessing is the guy that like wrote the one book that has sold a lot.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that you're knocking down $250,000 a year looking for Bigfoot.
No, but I found a smaller version of him that I work with all the time. Same smell, IQ, maybe even a little lower.
Okay. So you're going to get rid of the cryptozoology? You're holding on to the skeleton click? Okay, a brony. What is a brony?
Oh, I kind of think that was a slang. It had something to do. I know, like one of the wrestlers.
You're thinking of The Rock.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
that's something different.
I don't know what that word means, so I'm not going to say it.
I don't want to say it either.
I think it's safe, but I'm not going to risk it.
I don't know really for sure. So a brony. So a bro. It's going to have to do with a guy.
Okay.
A brony. He just likes to hang out with the dudes all the time. Kind of like a meathead. He's a brony.
A male fan of My Little Pony. Ironically enough, this is the only one I didn't have to Photoshop. That's just Doug.
You just found that? That was on my computer.
I typed in brony, and that's what came up.
And so it looks like the group that I stuck with is a fan of the 21 Pilots.
So you can preach in a 21 Pilots something or a Little Pony something.
I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
See, I should have held on to the one about the
normcore.
The normcore.
I was not going to let you hold
I know you wouldn't let. You're like you can't do this.
So, youth group kids, if you have a 21 Pilot something, you can loan it to Doug. And at some point, you will represent your new subculture in front of Taylor Street, in front of your other subculture. Yes. You'll Venn diagram these things together.
That would be awesome. I'm glad I could close that in and have that sliver that right there.
Yeah. I mean, I can't call myself part of the skeleton clique, but I mean, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I think you introduced that group to a lot of our kids in the youth group, and they went on to love it.
Ginormous fan.
Yeah.
I listen to it all the time, and I'm kind of sick of the new one. I'm not going to lie, because it's my son. Okay, so we do this every year for the podcast. There's kind of something fun. There's kind of something light. Eventually, we'll get to something a little more serious. But if you want to scoot over now,
I do want to scoot over. But as I'm scooting over, I just want to double check those pictures that I saw.
Yes.
Did you say those made it up on there?
That's why you had to sit over here so that we could do like the split screen thing and they could see it.
Oh man, that is absolutely awful. I cannot believe that they saw that.
It's one way to make sure that no other church will like hire you away from us.
From now on, anytime somebody like types in brony, like this podcast could potentially come up.
Along with that photo that was already online.
Okay. Wow, I'm glad that you chose that game.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now, all of you, when I say that, I say this all the time. I'm like I'm like a masochist because I choose to work with you. Now you know what I deal with.
Yeah.
This is my life.
Yeah, it's fun for me.
I have to say for you. So I enjoyed having a career and the opportunity to preach, and I hope I don't ever get fired here because I'm never going to get picked up anywhere else.
Unemployable now.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about subcultures that maybe we're not ready to like quit our lives here and run off and join, but like we're glad that they're out there.
Yes.
Is that a good?
Yeah, so I mean,
description?
Because I think a lot of those you can pull some good from those, and I the few that I listed, I thought, oh yeah, this is something I like. I don't want to dive into it, but there's really some good attributes.
Yeah.
That I can hang on to.
And so we distinguish that from a cult, which ends in like abuse and suicide and sexual abuse and just like. We're not doing cults.
Yeah,
that's
we're no Waco, no Branch Davidians, none of that.
We are
no
subcultures.
Kool-Aid drinking, just these subcultures.
All right.
Okay, so now we have to go. Do I get to go first? You
give
me the nod?
Well, yeah, because you told me that you had like 4 or 5. And
I
one
do
of
have
mine
4 or
I took
5.
from you. I have 3. So.
Okay, so the first one I would go with is a subculture, and I don't even know if I mentioned this when we were talking earlier, but like the motorcycle subculture.
No, well, Greasers was on there.
That was kind of on there, and what I said I like about the motorcycle subculture is there's 2 wheels, there's cool leather jackets, and there's the open road. I mean, that's just that's really cool. So I think I could go with that subculture, and just maybe get the vest and start working out. I think I'm there.
Okay.
But I don't have a motorcycle. I have a bicycle.
But you used to have one.
I used to have one, but I was never. I mean, I rode a motorcycle.
And you would pedal it to start it. It was a little moped,
I
right?
pull it to get it going. So there's my first subculture. How about yours?
Okay, preppers. I don't think there's going to be a worldwide catastrophe. If there were, I don't know that I want to be the one guy that has like millions of cans of food, because I'm kind of a tender heart. I would end up just giving it away anyway. But as a kid, there was a book that I had to read between 8th and 9th grade. It was called Alas, Babylon. It's actually set in Central Florida, where Brad and Thea and Troy and Becky are from, so that's kind of cool. But anyway, Alas, Babylon, it's end of the world, apocalypse, nuclear bombs, and I read that book and I was like, that in a way that would be pretty cool to like start over. And so the people that had food and stuff and knew how to hunt and fish, and I don't know, I thought that it was cool. And so really now though, as I think about this, I realize that I want like a secluded place with water and food, really just to get away from like everything else. So mainly I would just have to like my kids out of that room and just go there and like.
I think you should start right now. I mean,
just walk away.
There's the door. Just start walking.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like the Trolls movie. You're like the grumpy little troll who like has been like prepping.
I've never seen that movie, but sometimes I just need to get away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say another one of mine that I think is pretty cool, and this is like a little bit later on, but RVing. And even there's a specific group of RVers called the Sojourners. And so they take their subculture of Christianity and they mix it with the subculture of RVing, and they go around and they make opportunities to spread the gospel. So like the motorcycle, it's the open road, but there's no bugs in the teeth. And then at the end of the day, like you get to sleep in a nice, comfortable bed that, you've been driving around the country. I think it's cool.
And the Sojourners will go to like Pine Springs and go work for like a week.
Yes, they do all sorts
with
of
their
things.
hands.
Yes.
They build things and fix things, and it's like skilled craftsmen.
Yeah.
So like you totally could do that.
I think I
can see you doing that.
I mean, the reason I don't like to travel is because I love the idea of being home where it's familiar and really with my family. And so if I could kick the kids out of the house and take my wife with me, we could go.
Would Jennifer
RVing.
go for this?
You know what? I have no idea.
I think it's
Jennifer,
great that
would you go for this?
I think it's great that you introduced this possible
Yes.
life change to her in public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've already put a down payment on an RV, so it should be delivered in a few days.
Yeah. All right. Mine is, I read a book in around 2007, 2008, and it's called Better Off, and it's by Eric Brendy, and he was a MIT graduate. He had gone to school at Yale. He's super bright. MIT, of course, has technology in the title, and he goes and lives with, they're not technically Amish, but think Amish when you think of these people that he goes to live with, and he lives there for 1 year. And he had this completely warped idea about what it was going to be like. In fact, he kind of bulked up before he went and was thinking that like they'll like accept me because they see that I'm strong and that I can work long and hard. And he's picturing like 17-hour days. And he gets there and he's amazed at how much more free time that he has. And really at the end of all of this, he just learned so much about himself and life and work and balance. But he says the one thing that like humans need that like they don't use is, you know what? I'm gonna let you guess. What is it? After all that, there's one modern day comfort that he's like changes everything.
Indoor plumbing.
No. A refrigerator.
Oh.
The ability to keep food cold, because if not, you're making your meals from scratch every day.
Yeah.
And so now he kind of lives a hybrid life, and that's one of the few things that he has. He's got a landline and that's about it. But anyway, it's a really good book. I liked it a lot. I would like to go try that out for a while.
Wow.
Maybe a week.
Yeah, maybe a week. Wow, that would be awesome. And a week is absolutely the most I could do.
Yeah.
You could do it for several months. I don't know about that. Okay, so the next subculture that I have is, I know this is kind of weird, but like just campus life. Just going back. And the reason why I say that, don't look at me like that.
No, it's just, okay.
It's just in a different campus life. Come on, people. But my son is now at ACU where I was there many moons ago, and it was a really good time. You could go to a devotional anytime that you wanted to. They always had something there for you. I was in a club, and so we had friends around, and I'm always looking for somebody to be my friend, even if they're really mean to me. I'll hang around them if they'll be give me attention. And you get to play sports, and it's a learning environment. And what I've been reminding Wyatt is, hey, this is like the only time in your life where you're going to be around thousands of people, like almost your exact age. And it was a really fun time. I have so many fond memories of Jennifer and I dating then, and what a great time it was. And so, yeah, I really like that.
I would go back to college.
Yeah.
Yeah. High school, no. Middle school, no. College,
yeah, no.
Yes.
No, it was a really enjoyable time.
Okay, so I wanted to find a way to show video of this, and it just doesn't really work out that good in the format. But there was a Jewish rabbi that was a Hasidic Jew. He was born in what's Ukraine now. At the time it was Lithuania, Poland, but his name is Rabbi Nachman. And think Luther, think Calvin. I guess in our own fellowship you can think of Barton or Stone or somebody, but kind of a towering intellect of a teacher, and just respected. And he died in 1810. I didn't write down the year that he was born in, so he would have been born in like the 1750s or 60s or something. But just kind of a towering scholar. But my introduction to him was, to this day, there's young Hasidic Jewish men that they drive around Jerusalem during the day, and they literally have a party van. They have kind of a platform on top of the van, and they get out and they play what sounds like techno dance music, and they just get out and they chant, and they just exude the joy of God, because that was one of the things that this towering intellect wrote about. And so I came in from kind of like, these guys are happy and they dance and they just exude joy, and they want other people to feel that joy and to say that this comes from God. And then I learned more about the rabbi, and I'm thinking he's kind of a lightweight who's just happy, happy, happy. He wasn't. He talked deeply about a personal connection to God and just praying to God as if he were your friend, which sounds more Christian than Jewish. And he would do that an hour a day out loud. And so he kind of had it all. And so I would like to go hang out with this group of people to kind of dig into that root of kind of the thought that he had. And if y'all know me, you know that I literally would be the last person to go like dance on a street corner, chanting. But in that environment, I think you could get me to do it, just if everybody else was doing it. But it's these Jewish men with like the hair and the dark clothes, and they're just out there dancing, and it's just so cool.
Dancing before the Lord with all their might.
I know of another guy that did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay.
I would try that out.
I wish we had a video, because if we did, I would somehow figure out a way to superimpose your face on one of those guys dancing around, and then we'd have that to see, and you'd be stuck here forever.
I would be.
We'd never get rid of you. Okay, so I actually have two more. You finished your last one. One of them is not as important as the last one, but I'll say the military, like that subculture. I appreciate authority. I don't really have a big problem with authority, mainly because I grew up with an authority figure in the house, and I saw him as someone who was loving and kind, and so not always terrible just because they had it on a uniform. And so with that said, military is, I appreciate authority. They have cool uniforms. That there would be like challenging exercises, which I know is way beyond what I can do now. But that's just cool to think about, just pushing yourself to the limit. Paul talked a little bit about that. And then just an opportunity to serve others.
Yeah.
So that's one of my really like, but the last one, I think the subculture that I really appreciate the most is the AA, the Alcoholics Anonymous. And why I really like that subculture from afar is that they're people who are real and they're vulnerable. You can go in there and you can share your hurts and your struggles and your past and just be accepted. People are willing to sit and listen, no matter how crazy your story and your past and how much brokenness you have. People are there to love you and accept you. And I want that to be what people experience when they walk into a church building, that they feel that. And the other thing is that in AA, it seems like there's just this real sense of family.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one that, I really appreciate those who are in that and those who support that is just a big deal. So those are my subcultures.
That's an awesome one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to have just a brief interlude of a song. I wanted to do the Joe Cocker, what's it called? I Get By with a Little Help from My Friends. Yeah, the Beatles wrote that, and they protect their copyright. So I'm going to keep us out of trouble, and I'm not going to play that one. But we're going to play just a snippet of a song from Plum, and then we're going to come back with a little more, I guess, Bible study portion of our annual podcast. So enjoy Plum. Sink and swim.
I lost it all. You got it back. Believed in me when I gave up on myself again. Sudden rain revealed your face. Knew right then, no matter where I go, I had to hold. We would sail, we would swim till the ocean turns to sand. We would laugh, we would cry till there's no more breath inside. We would swim, we would swim. I was a tangerine.
All right, we're back.
We're back.
Little break. Chance for us to check our notes out, get a drink of water.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you forgot.
I did forget. Looks like you did too.
Okay, so we've introduced this theme, and I guess why are we talking about it in church? A subculture.
Well, because I think that kind of, in a lot of ways, defines the church.
Yeah.
And maybe even more so now than 10 or 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
I think even 10.
Yeah.
That's really why
That recent.
I chose this.
Yeah.
Is I feel like since the beginning of the European settlement of the continent for my whole life for sure, that there's kind of been a moralized version of Christianity that has kind of been the American culture for better or for worse.
Yes.
Like it's far from a perfect Christianity. You can look at slavery and the Jim Crow era and just a whole lot of other things. But by and large, that's kind of been a unifying force. And I think that's being chipped away. And I think that we need to get used to not being the culture, but being a subculture.
Yeah. Now, whether you like Barack Obama or not, he actually pointed this out back when he was president. He talked about that, America is no longer, a Christian nation. And I know a lot of people were kind of up in arms about that, but you're right. I kind of think there was a shift where it was a moving away from, it was so widely accepted by everyone as part of the culture. Now, it's kind of it has taken a back seat to the larger culture.
Well, and I think a lot of the pushback that he got about that was there were people that were thinking that he was saying that with kind of glee or joy.
Yeah.
And so I think people hear it better from when people say, I'm actually kind of heartbroken about this.
Yes.
Which I am, because I think it's bad for the country, but I think in some ways it could actually be good for Christianity, that we no longer are the dominant culture. So we're like, okay, back in the 80s and 90s, I remember that a lot of Christians were going to boycott Disney, and they were trying to pressure Disney. Okay, so like, I guess the modern day version of that is still Disney or even Netflix, and there's some objectionable, terrible stuff on Netflix right now. We could boycott him, and we could try to get him to change, and we could do protest and email campaigns and all sorts of other stuff, right? But I think that we're at a place that that's a waste of our energy and time. And if you want to cancel Netflix, cancel it. I did. But then invest that energy and time in your local community, because as far as like changing the culture, like in that type of way, I just feel like that the ship has sailed.
Yeah, that Hollywood is no longer going to, agree with what Christians wanted, because now we've lost that power politically.
Yeah.
And so
Socially.
Yeah, social. And really, like you said, I think that's okay. I think we can spend a lot of time trying to convince all these corporations and businesses and industries to say, hey, you need to accept, our version of America based on our lens.
Yeah.
And it's better off if we just say, we're gonna preach, Christ crucified and separate ourselves from that.
Well, and I think that there's seasons of life and of history in which the church looks out, and then there are seasons in which the church looks in. And I think in both seasons, the church can be faithful. It can be a witness. And so for the rest of the 20 minutes that we're here, when I start talking about looking in, I don't want anybody to hear that it's a shutting of the door to a world that's dying. I think there's a way to faithfully kind of let the culture be the culture, and to be focused just intensely on what's local and what's relevant, and really kind of building the body from the inside out. And so some examples of that is when you look at the Bible, the beginning of Acts, the church is faced outward. I mean, they are evangelizing and they are growing like crazy. But towards the end of the canon, Revelation, Hebrews, some books, they start warning of like persecution, and you can tell that it's like ratcheting up. Now, Jesus has always warned us about this, but you can sense that it's kind of starting to get serious. Mm-hmm. So I've been teaching at Veritas. It's a private Christian school, and so I've had to read a lot of the early church fathers. And so really from the end of the canon until Constantine, the church was hunted. I mean, literally hunted, murdered in public. The church had to turn inward. And then from Constantine until the fall of Rome, the church kind of gets to turn back outward again. And the church did amazing things, charities, hospitals, orphanage. All of these things were uniquely Christian, and they exported their values. And even secular researchers, historians agree that back in those days, wherever the faith went, people's lives got better, and the church was faced outward. Well, then the barbarians, they started to come in, and Rome kind of starts to crumble, and the monasteries were literally these little hubs of light, that they weren't hiding from the civilized world around them. They were protecting everything that was good and holy, and art and literature and the scriptures. There's so much that we have because of these little communities of faith that are like, Rome's burning, but we're going to stay right here, and we're going to be local, and we're going to be faithful. And so I love that idea of like, you don't have to pick one because the other one is wrong. It's like, what is God calling us to now? And I just preached a really long time.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, they really embodied the idea of sanctuary.
Yeah.
Of going in there and finding protection. And I do think it's important for us as we start to move forward, as we are now entering into, a subculture era of Christianity. And I'm not afraid of that. I'm not embarrassed about that. I'm not saying, oh no, this is all falling apart. I think the problem with being a part of culture is that wherever culture goes, we can start shifting that way too. And so now that we're kind of divorcing from that, it gives us an opportunity to be set apart.
Yeah, which is what we're called to be.
Yes.
So there's a book. It's a very good book. I don't know if you can see it. It's a Dave Kinnaman book. I was supposed to get to hear him speak at a youth thing, and it got canceled, COVID. But in this book, Kinnaman and Matlock, they compare Jerusalem and Babylon. And I just feel like that our culture, that I grew up in Jerusalem, that like you were expected to follow moral precepts that were Judeo-Christian. And now I just feel like that we live in Babylon.
Yes.
And no matter where I live, I'm called to be faithful.
Yes. You're in Babylon, build houses.
Yeah.
Set
Start
roots.
businesses.
Like this is where God wants you to be. And so you've talked a little bit about that in a sermon before, of just a reminder of this is where God wants us.
Yeah.
So no
right.
need to be afraid about it. Okay.
I've got another book.
Okay, go another.
Rod Dreher, Changed My Life, the Benedict option. I have my kids in a private school. If you would have told me when I was a young, on fire for God teenager, or even in my early 20s, I'd be like, no, I went to public schools. I went to a state school for college. Like, you go there and you're in the locker room, in the band room, and you're salt and light. And I still believe that. But I read this book, and that's where a lot of my thoughts are coming from, about just being intensely local and really being set apart. And so that book is the reason why my family is at Veritas now.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I grew up exactly the opposite.
I know.
Of having grown up in a private school and enjoyed and appreciated it. But, I'm kind of like, well, I want my kids to be out there and I want them to be the salt and light. And so, there's a give and take on both of those. But I think I'm glad that you made a very logical, rational decision, not just said, I can't stand the public school.
Yeah. And COVID kind of pushed us over the edge, but Rod Dreher did a lot of work on that. Yeah, okay. And neither one of us are saying that one's good and one's bad.
No,
I mean, I could see us going back to the public schools if the situation were right, and Veritas kind of has that flexibility where our kids could do band or sports or something as well.
Yes.
So, anyway.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak ill of my time in private schools, because man, I don't know that I could have made it in public schools, or I would have gone a different direction. I was, it took me a while, but I mean, there were folks that were planting seeds. There went my microphone. There's some folks who were planting seeds in my life that took a long time to grow, but they were faithful in that, and man, I'm thankful that they didn't give up. So
yeah,
okay. Can we talk a little bit about Acts?
Yeah, go.
I want to jump in real quick. You kind of mentioned a little bit about it, but we were talking about subcultures. I really think this when we read what takes place in Acts chapter 2, we think about verse 38, but I really want to jump down a little bit, and there's really a whole section I'm going to read. I say it's a whole section. It's one paragraph. Starting in verse 42, it says, "They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe, and many wonders and miraculous signs were done by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. Selling their possessions and goods, they gave to anyone as he had need. Every day they continued to meet together in temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved." I mean, that just, you talk about community, you talk about a subculture. I know they were going out, but they also took time to take care of one another. And it really was family for them.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons was choosing to follow Jesus was a pretty radical crazy thought to have at that time. And for a lot of people, that decision meant that their real family, their nuclear family, would no longer accept them into the house. And so this is, they were making big sacrifices, but they were being entered into a subculture of people who loved them, a family.
Yeah. Well, and that thing about the family, I mean, I think that gets to the core of what we're talking about, because you can't talk about the culture that you're a part of unless you talk about identity. And so in Philippians 3, Paul has quite a bit to say about that. He goes through kind of a list of, if someone thinks that they have reason to put confidence in the flesh, I have more. I was circumcised on the 8th day. I'm a Jew. I'm a Benjamin, Hebrew of Hebrews. In regard to the law, I'm a Pharisee. As for zeal, I persecuted the church. He's like, those core things, I check every box. And sometimes, I'm not trying to brag, but I'm a Texan, okay? I'm not trying to brag, but I was a Cowboys fan in the 90s. They won 3 Super Bowls. I played Texas high school football. And so it would kind of be easy to kind of start checking those boxes and be like, yeah, I think I got it together. I think my choices in life are good. I think the people that I associate with are good. And Paul's like, I have all of y'all beat. And what does he say at the very end of all of that?
I consider it rubbish.
I consider it trash. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And so you mentioned family, and every time I read this in the scriptures, it kind of strikes me, because Jesus is out there preaching, and they come to him and say, Jesus, your mom and brothers are back there. And what does Jesus say?
He says, who are my mothers and who are my brothers? The ones who do the will of my Father who sent me.
Yeah.
So the ones
right?
who listen and do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I really want I want to be heard as a call, not as doom and gloom that the culture's gone, because I think maybe I've implied that, which I do kind of believe that. But I want this to be a rallying cry to those people who do the will of God that are in your circle. Invest in those people and love those people with all of your heart. No matter what's on Netflix, no matter what's going on in Washington, D.C., no matter what's going on in Congress or Albuquerque or anything else, just invest in one another, because that is your family. Those are your people.
Yeah. I didn't ever see it as doom and gloom. Every time we talk about the idea of us, you kind of, separating from culture, to me, I see that always as it can be really a positive.
It gets mixed up with patriotism.
Yes.
And I love America. America's Babylon, America's Rome. It's just the best Babylon and best Rome that I can think of. But it still is a human institution, and Satan is the prince of the air.
Yes.
And so it's never going to be Jerusalem until Jesus is on the throne. Mm-hmm. And he's on the throne now, but we're still in that now but not yet waiting period for all things to be redeemed. And so it's just that tension where, I don't want to come across as I'm waving the U.S. flag, nor do I want to come across as I think that's bad. It's just, I feel like that those two things, they kind of get mixed up, and we have a conservative church. I'm a conservative, a lot of patriotic, God-fearing people that we're talking to. And so it's kind of hard to hold those things at the same time. But that's what I'm trying to do. But if I have to let go of one, I know without a doubt which one that I'm going to let go of.
Yes.
Right? And as Christians, that's what we're called to do.
Yep. And I agree exactly with what you said. So yeah, that's great. So I want to jump over and go a different direction. As we briefly kind of talked about, hey, where are we going with all of this? We try not to talk too much, because then we end up knowing what each other says, and then we're not surprised when I see a picture of myself wearing a skeleton outfit and a sombrero.
That's true.
But I did mention that Philemon was a place that I think really describes kind of a subculture, and this is where you talk about Paul is going to I'm using the word, I'll use the word separate. He wants to separate his rights as a citizen or Philemon's rights as a slave owner, as a master, and speak to him instead about his role as a Christian and a brother. And so it's a really short letter. In fact, I say it's one chapter long. It's technically not even a chapter. I mean, there's no chapters. There's just, we have some verses in there. But really the gist of it is Paul is in prison, and somehow he comes in contact with a guy named Onesimus. Onesimus, it turns out, was a slave of Philemon who had run away. And Paul meets them, and Onesimus is really helpful to Paul. And at some point, Paul learns the story and says, hey, I know Philemon. And I really don't know how this went down, but at some point, I don't know if Philemon says, hey, I really feel like Onesimus says, I really need to go back to Philemon, or Paul says, hey, you need to go back. But at any rate, he sends him back to Colossae, where Philemon is, and he sends him with this letter. And so I love imagining how that played out. You know, the letter arrives, the letter to the church in Colossae, and then the smaller letter specifically to Philemon, and standing right there is Onesimus. And Paul says, look, I'm not gonna force you, I'm not gonna command you, but I don't want you to see Onesimus as someone who is useless. He is useful, and the reason why he is because you should see him not as a slave, but instead as a brother. And I love that idea of that trumps, that subculture, the Christianity, the love that we have for one another, that trumps any rights that we think we have as citizens of Rome or citizens of America or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's Philemon is one that I really like.
I think that's a great place to close.
Okay.
All right.
And with a runaway slave. So just a reminder, if you chose to start watching this early and said, oh, wow, this is great, I'm going to watch this, and then I'm going to go to church on Wednesday or go to the building on Wednesday, it's going to be closed down.
Yes.
So just a reminder, Wednesday, November 24th, the day before Thanksgiving, in the year of our Lord 2021, we will not be meeting here.
All right.
So, but we do appreciate, thank you for joining us, whether you're going down the road and listening to us, or unfortunately you watched us and you saw some of those pictures. There will be some kind of lawsuit that will be formed about you defaming me. It's in the works.
There's a scripture about taking your brother to court, so
yes.
I'm safe.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, thank you again
Much
for
love.
being here. Happy Thanksgiving.